Compass to Life. I'm your host, Suzanne, and it is fabulous to be back here with you again. As you know, I took a little TV time out over the summer, and I'm back in action better than ever. And actually, we have some new changes to the show, so I'm excited to share those with you. We are actually going to change. Our format's changing to a half-an-hour format, which is the start of what you're seeing tonight. And we're actually going to be interviewing a number of businesses and people throughout Palm Beach County and Broward County, and I'm letting you know about what's out there and services and opportunities and things for you to participate in. So I'm excited to introduce to you our first guest opening the season. His name is Aaron Chaskelson. He is an attorney at law, and he has a wonderful firm, a ticket defense firm. And we're going to be talking to Aaron today about what a ticket defense firm is, because I know there are many of us out there who could probably use this service. So Aaron, welcome. How are you?
Thank you. I'm great. It's very pleased to be here today. It was nice to meet you.
Thank you. Let me tell you a little bit about Aaron. He's a traffic and criminal defense attorney, and he practices in Palm Beach County and throughout the state of Florida. So we're so happy to have you here.
Yeah, thank you again for having me.
So ticket defense firm. Tell us a bit about what that is.
Okay. Like you said, I'm a defense attorney, and if somebody were to get a speeding ticket or a DUI or any other type of traffic ticket or be charged with any type of criminal defense, they would call an attorney such as myself to help them get through the process and to get them the best possible outcome.
Okay. Now tell me a bit about your background. I did look at your website, and I know that one of the areas that you tend to concentrate on is ticket defense.
Correct.
But what was your background before getting into ticket defense?
Okay. Well, I actually grew up in the Midwest. I went to college at the University of Kansas, got my undergraduate degree there, and then I moved to Florida for law school and decided to stay. I went to a school in Miami called St. Thomas University, and from there, my third year in law school, I did what's called a certified legal internship as a prosecutor with the Broward County State Attorney's Office. So that's really what got me kind of interested in doing, criminal defense. While I was there, I met a traffic attorney who, explained to me that, he also did traffic and criminal defense, but he was already, in private practice. And after I graduated law school, I ended up, working with that firm. And I've been doing that ever since my entire legal career started back in 2001.
So what I really got out of that is you're a Gator.
No. I'm actually from the Midwest, and my team is the Kansas Jayhawks. But I actually went to school in Miami, so I pulled for the Hurricanes. I like all Florida teams, but I like the Canes.
All right. So tell me, why did you? What was your thought on why this area of law interests you? Because it is quite an interesting, I imagine, a much needed area.
Right. Well, growing up, I had always wanted to become an attorney, and when I came to law school, when I was in my first and second year, I actually had a job with an attorney who practiced on civil litigation, which consists of lawsuits, people suing each other. And I kind of figured out that really wasn't what I wanted to do because it involves a lot of paperwork. The cases aren't very exciting. So when I had the opportunity to work in the prosecutor's office of Broward County, that's when I really knew that's what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about the process of ticket defense. And I think let's start with, what is the process without you?
Okay.
And then what would the process be with someone coming with you?
Okay, basically how it works is when somebody gets, we'll start with the traffic tickets first.
Okay.
Like, for example, a speeding ticket, running a red light, running a stop sign, a careless driving ticket, involving an accident. Those are all traffic infractions. So say, for example, you were getting a speeding ticket. Mm-hmm. Anybody who gets a speeding ticket has three options. Number one, they can pay the ticket outright without hiring a lawyer, but you don't want to do that because if you pay the ticket, you automatically get points on your license. And people don't want points on their license for two different reasons. Number one, if you get a certain amount of points, you're going to end up getting a license suspension. But number two, and this applies to most people, is if you get points on your license, your insurance rates are going to increase, and they're going to increase a lot. I've seen that happen all the time. So you definitely want to do that option. The other option is you can pay the ticket, pay a reduced fine, but you have to do the traffic school. And the problem with that is you only get to do that 5 times in your life or only once per year. So if you get a ticket in March of 2011, you elect school for that, then you get another ticket in August of that year, you don't have that option available to you, and your only option would be to take the points at that time. Mm-hmm. The third option is to fight the ticket in court. If you go that route, you can do it one of two ways. Number one, you can do it yourself. You can go to the clerk's office and file and have a hearing, and you can go to court yourself and handle it. Or number two, you can hire a traffic attorney or any attorney. The benefit in hiring somebody to do it for you is a number of things. Number one, it takes time to actually go to the courthouse, wait in line at the clerk's office, wait for them to handle your case. Then they'll send you a court date in the mail. You're responsible for keeping that date and going to court. Now, I don't know if you've ever been to court before or if anybody watching ever has, but it's pretty much at least a half a day process, or at least a couple hours, where it takes time. You have to take time off work. You have to drive to the courthouse. You have to sit in the courtroom. You have to wait for your case to be called. That's just the pure inconvenience of it. The second reason why you wouldn't want to do that is because, most people who get traffic tickets don't know what to look for into how to possibly getting them dismissed, and that's where I would come in. I've been attorney of record in probably over 100,000 traffic tickets. And if the police make a mistake on the citation, sometimes the magistrates will throw them out of court. So you would get no points on your license, you wouldn't have to pay a fine, and it would not go on your record if your ticket got dismissed. And, that's, pretty much what I know how to do.
So here's my question, Aaron. And I actually had a client the other day who was in this situation. I could have recommended him to you because he was asking about it. But the question is this: what if you actually were speeding? So what if you were speeding? Should you is the goal to defend it anyways, or should you, even though if you know you did it wrong, could you still come to someone like you and say, hey, get me out of this?
Absolutely. My number one goal is to get your case dismissed, totally off your record. So when you hire me, I don't ask you, so were you really speeding? And if you say yes, I'm going to go and tell a judge, because we have what's called an attorney-client privilege. The number one goal of any defense attorney is to get an acquittal for their client, using any ethical means possible. So, and that's what I tried to do. So if you were speeding, I normally don't know about it. I just ask you what you're accused of. I file a not guilty pleading on your case. I go to court. The clerk's office will subpoena the officers, and I make them prove the case against you.
Okay. All right. So now what kind of charges can you defend?
I can defend any charges, anything from a speeding ticket up into I've been attorney of record on a case involving an assault with a firearm. But mostly I do speeding tickets, traffic infractions, and a big part of my practice is also criminal traffic infractions, actually criminal traffic charges, such as a DUI, a reckless driving on a suspended license, things like that. Okay,
so let's talk a little bit about the criminal side of things. First of all, what kind of incident rates are we kind of seeing now with regard to criminal violations and incidences like that?
Well, I think I've been up here, like I said, since 2001, and the county has grown tremendously. With that comes more crime, more charges, more traffic on the streets, more DUIs. I know the sheriff's office is stepping up their patrols on a routine basis. I know Rick Bradshaw was recently elected the new sheriff, and they make a lot of arrests in this county. A lot of tickets get issued.
And are we seeing a lot of DUIs, or are we seeing a lot of drugs, or what are we seeing a lot of?
I would say there's definitely more DUIs than anything else. With that, sometimes people will have drugs on them when the cops search their car, and they'll find that, and they'll pick up that additional charge as well.
Okay. And when people use your service, what kind of timeline are they on for the whole thing to, play out, or?
Generally, each case is different. Some shorter, some are longer than others. But generally, on a traffic infraction speeding ticket, the general time frame I would say is 90 days. On a DUI case, generally 4 to 6 months.
Okay.
And this is one other difference. Let me just mention real quick. If you get a traffic criminal citation, you don't have the three options I mentioned earlier, whether to pay the ticket or to elect driving school. There's a mandatory court appearance that's put on your ticket that you have to go to that court date unless you hire an attorney.
Okay. And so tell us about where we can find you. I mean, if someone was just on an internet site, and what would they look up to find you?
Okay. If you want to find me, the best thing to do is go to www.ticketdefensefirm.com. And that's how you can find me online. Another way to find me is, and I think I'm unique in most lawyers, and I gave you one of my brochures earlier.
Yes.
My cell phone number is on that brochure. I'm available 24/7. So when you call my office, you may get a receptionist, but if you're a new caller and if you need help right away, I'm available 24/7. Once you become my client, you will have that number still. So if there's some type of emergency, I'm available 24/7.
And let me ask you, does someone hire you on retainer? Is it hourly rates? How does the fees kind of work?
I can work out whatever fee is better for my client. Generally, though, I do a flat rate. So I have a flat rate for the traffic tickets, and I do a flat rate for the criminal violations as well. And those vary depending on the severity of the case.
Okay, now a lot of what I see happening now with cases, or based on what I have been seeing, is that people, they pay if you win. But in this case, there wouldn't be any sort of win, so you have to...
There is an actual rules of ethics that you can't... what you're mentioning is called a contingency fee.
Okay.
And that's what happens typically in a civil case, in a lawsuit, where the client would only collect if your attorney wins money for you. The Florida bar rules prohibit that in criminal and family law cases. So, because typically we can't guarantee a client what a jury or judge is going to do. So the answer to the question is the Florida bar prohibits contingency fee cases for criminal cases.
Okay. And what made you start the company?
Actually, when I first passed the bar back in 2001, I worked for a really big ticket defense firm, and it was really good. They were really good to me, and it was nice. But after a certain amount of time, I just felt it was better for me to go out on my own. So over a year ago, I started my own company. It's just a lot more personable. Clients have direct contact with me, and I just think it works better for me that way.
Are there any guarantees when someone works with you? Are you able to make guarantees? Yes, we'll win. No, we won't. Or how does that work?
The only thing I can make a guarantee in a civil infraction case with a speeding ticket. I can't guarantee a result, but what I can guarantee is if, say, for example, you come to me with a speeding ticket or any other type of civil infraction, I can guarantee you a refund of your legal fees if you end up getting points on your from that ticket that you hired me for, provided you've had no tickets in the last 2 years, or you weren't going more than 30 miles over the speed limit, or you weren't in an accident involving injuries. Because cases where you're accused of going 30 miles over the speed limit, or if you're in an accident involving injury, go before a county court judge.
Okay. And how can people do more damage to their case by defending themselves versus, coming to someone like you who knows the ins and outs of the system and ways that can possibly help them?
Well, like I said, I've been doing this for since 2001. This is everything that I do all day long. And besides that, I have an objective view of the case, whereas somebody defending themselves, number one, they don't know the procedures, they don't know the laws, they don't know the magistrates and the judges, which is also important, and they have a biased opinion as to what happened in their case, where I could look at it from an unbiased view, knowing all the laws and procedures that I know to get them the best possible outcome.
And how many times are you seeing repeat offenders? Let's take, let's say we're talking about whether it be traffic violations or whether we're talking about DUI cases, and how does that affect someone's case?
If you're a repeat offender, it's obviously going to go worse for you, because what happens is if you're not able to beat the case, the judge is going to look at your record and sentence you accordingly. That being said, I do have a lot of repeat clients. I tend to think I do a good job for them, and even though they do have stuff on their record, I'm still able to get them satisfactory outcomes the majority of the time.
So what should we know that I haven't asked you that you would like to say specifically that's unique about your firm?
Well, I think I said this earlier, but what's unique about my firm is access. A lot of attorneys you don't have direct access to. You have to go through a receptionist, a secretary, other secretaries, legal assistants. Like I said earlier, I'm available 24/7. My clients can get a hold of me anytime, day or night. And, I'm very experienced. I've had a lot of cases. And it's just the access and the experience, which I think is important.
Okay. And do you want to give out, again, your website, telephone number? I don't know if you want to do telephone number or any
That's
other
fine.
way that we can contact you.
Right. You can get a hold of me online at www.ticketdefensefirm.com, or you can call me directly at 561-827-0267. Once again, that's 561-827-0267. If you can't get me on my cell phone, you can call my office line at 561-659-2102.
Now, let me ask you one last question. It's just coming to mind. Sometimes, again, you hear with law cases that if you're in an accident, you should call your lawyer first before you sign anything. Is that the same case when it comes to ticketing or DUI?
As far as signing anything, if an officer issues you a citation, it's a misdemeanor not to sign the citation. And when you sign a citation, you're not admitting guilt. You're simply acknowledging receipt of the citation. Now, as far as making statements, it's my opinion, would never recommend anybody make any statements to anybody if they're involved in an accident or if they're charged with a crime without speaking to a lawyer first.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on here. It was
Thank
a pleasure.
you very much. This was a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Thank you and welcome. Thank you for another episode of Compass to Life, and we'll see you again next week. I'm your host, Suzanne. Thanks.